Hello viewers, in my last lecture on carbohydrates, I had discussed the properties of monosaccharide glucose, where we had discussed the properties due to the aldehyde group as well as the hydroxyl group. Now I shall be discussing a very important reaction with you, that is reaction of glucose with alkalis. But this reaction is very important, but this reaction is given by glucose, fructose and mannose. So when we treat glucose in a dilute basic medium, that what we find that glucose isomerizes to give us mannose and it undergoes enediol rearrangement to give us fructose. And I have started this lecture with this reaction particularly because even if we had taken fructose instead of glucose, it would also undergo enediol rearrangement to give us glucose and fructose. So before we start with our discussion on fructose, that is methods of preparation of fructose and its properties, I would like to discuss this reaction first, that is the reaction of glucose with a dilute NaOH and in a mildly basic medium. And please remember, this reaction will apply to fructose as well as mannose. So what we find that when we carry out the reaction of D-glucose in dilute alkali solution, it rearranges to give us a mixture of D-glucose, D-mannose and D-fructose. And similarly, if we had started with D-fructose, it would give us the mixture of D-glucose and D-mannose. And if we had started the reaction with D-mannose, it would give us mixture of D-glucose, D-mannose and D-fructose. What is the reason behind it? Right? And therefore, in my previous lecture also, I told you when I was discussing the formation of ethers from glucose, we discussed that we cannot carry out those reactions in a strongly alkaline medium because they undergo strongly basic medium because they undergo rearrangement reactions. So as you can see on your screens now, that is, if we start with glucose will convert into mannose and it will convert into fructose, and there is an equilibrium between these reactions. Supposing now I had started with the reaction with say D-mannose and we had dissolved D-mannose, we were carrying out the reaction in say basic medium. This D-mannose would convert into D-glucose due to epimerization, and it would convert into D-fructose because of the reaction of enediol rearrangement. Similarly, what we'll find that if we had started the reaction with fructose, we would get again a mixture of fructose, which would be the starting compound, and mannose as well as glucose. So how does this reaction takes place? And this reaction is very, very important because this will explain number of concepts as to why does fructose does not have an aldehyde group, yet fructose gives us a positive Tollens, Fehling's and Benedict's test. Then fructose how does fructose and glucose give us the same ozazone derivative? So these reactions will explain. So what you have to remember is, if the question is asked that why does fructose, which does not have an aldehyde group, give us a positive test with Fehling's and Benedict's reagent or with Tollens reagent, the simple answer would be because it undergoes enediol rearrangement to give us a mixture of glucose, fructose and mannose. So how does this reaction takes place? See, what happens is, if we take glucose and we dissolve it in water, right? So it will undergo ring opening. First of all, you have to remember that when we are talking of glucose, fructose or mannose, the major part is the cyclic structure. When we dissolve it in water, it undergoes ring opening, that is, and we will get this structure. Now what happens is that this will undergo a rearrangement in which we will get a enediol. Now when we get this enediol here, now the possibility is, that is, we can carry out the deprotonation at either of these carbons. Now why are we saying it is an enediol? Because what we find that there is a double bond between two carbon atoms here, and then we have two hydroxyl layers. We have a hydroxyl group here and we have an hydroxyl group here. If we are having only one hydroxyl group, say this was not an hydroxyl group, this was supposing a methyl group here, we would have said that this is enol. That is, it is having one double bond and OH is attached to that carbon which is containing a double bond. But in this case, we have two OH which are attached to carbons which are containing a double bond. So this intermediate is known as enediol intermediate. Now supposing tautomerism takes place at carbon number 1, then what we'll find that we will get a mixture of glucose and mannose. Whereas if the tautomerism takes as carbon number 2, we will get D-fructose. So it is the probability of having tautomerism of at either of these two carbons is equal. So what we get is, when we dissolve glucose in a basic medium, weakly basic medium, we find that we are getting a mixture of glucose, mannose and fructose, and similarly if we dissolve mannose, we'll get a mixture of mannose, glucose and fructose, and similar is the case with fructose. Now, so as I have already explained, that in mildly alkaline medium, that aldoses and ketoses undergo rearrangements and will give us a variety of products. So we say, if we are converting glucose to fructose or glucose to mannose, what are we saying? We are carrying out isomerization. What do I mean by isomerization? Is a process in which one compound which is having same molecular formula. Now we know glucose has molecular formula C6H12O6, as well as mannose and fructose also have the same formula. Where do they differ? Glucose and mannose are aldohexoses, whereas fructose is a ketohexose. That means these are functional isomers. But when we talk of, say, glucose and mannose, they differ in configuration at C2. That means they are epimers. So now when we talk of the rearrangement or isomerization, we give them specific terms, that is, aldoses undergo epimerization. Now what I mean by saying aldoses undergo epimerization, that is, a glucose molecule will be changed into mannose and vice versa. And when we say it, these molecules will undergo enediol rearrangement, that means they are being converted, that glucose and mannose are being converted into fructose, or fructose is being converted into glucose and mannose. So what we find that when we are carrying out a reaction in an alkaline medium, after some time we will see that there is an equilibrium between D-glucose, D-mannose and D-fructose. So let me now explain the mechanism of epimerization in great details. Now, so what happens is, when we are carrying out epimerization in basic medium, so what happens in basic medium is that the C2, that the configuration at the C2 carbon of the glucose changes. We know that what are epimers? Epimers are those compounds which have the same molecular formula, same structural formula, but they have different configuration at one chiral carbon. So D-glucose and D-mannose are C2 epimers, that is, the configuration at the C2 carbon will be different. In glucose, the OH is on the right hand side in the open chain structure, whereas in mannose it is on the left hand side. So what happens when the configuration will change? It will result in an equilibrium mixture of the original sugar and its C2 epimer. That is, it will result in the equilibrium mixture of D-glucose and D-mannose. And this stereochemical change, which results in the change in configuration at C2 carbon, is called epimerization. So now, as you can see on your screens, what I have shown here, the reaction of D-glucose with in an alkaline medium. So what happens when we are carrying out the reaction in an alkaline medium? The OH here, the strong base, will remove a proton from here. When it removes a proton from this carbon, which is the alpha carbon, so you can say which compounds will go this type of reaction. We say which are the alpha hydroxyaldehydes or ketones. So this will remove a H from here. So what happens? We will get a negative charge, we will get an anion here. Now what happens is that we are getting this anion here. This will be stabilized by resonance. That is, this oxygen pulls these electrons towards itself, and this negative charge makes a bond. The electrons here will make a double bond here between carbon and carbon. We know that resonance takes place if there is an interaction between pi bonds and a negative charge, provided they are in conjugation. So here they are in conjugation. It will result in this intermediate. So these are the two resonating structures, and we call this as enolate ion, because here we have a double bond and here we have a negative charge on it. So we call this as an enolate ion. Now what happens in the next step? That the C2 ion, C2 carbon, is reprotonated. Now when it is reprotonated, what we find that this carbon is sp2 hybridized. Since it is sp2 hybridized, that means the structure will be planar. If the structure is planar, the OH can add from either face of the planar sp2 carbon, as a result of which we will get both isomers, that is the D-glucose and D-mannose. So what do we know now? That the epimerization will change the configuration of at a carbon by first removing a proton and then reprotonating it again. So when it does so, we will get mannose. So as you can see on your screens, now I have shown the complete reaction. That is, first what is happening? This OH, this base, which is acting here as a nucleophile, which is here OH is acting here as a base. Please remember, it is not acting here as a nucleophile, because nucleophile means that if this OH was making a bond with this carbon, but here what it is doing, it is removing a proton. So this is an acid base reaction. So it will remove this proton. We will get an enolate ion, which is resonance stabilized. And what we find, that since this carbon is sp2 hybridized, it is planar in shape. Since it is planar, now the reprotonation which will take place, it can take place either from this face or it can take place from this face. If it will take place from this phase, we will get back the original molecule, that is D-glucose, and if it takes place from the opposite phase, we will get D-mannose. So as I have already said, this reaction is an epimerization. What we find that here the configuration at C2 carbon is changing. In glucose, this OH is on the right hand side, whereas in mannose it is on the left hand side. Then again, I would like to clarify one more term. Why are we calling this as D? Because what we find that at the highest numbered asymmetric carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 carbons are asymmetric because they are attached to 4 different groups. So in this asymmetric carbon, the OH is on the right hand side here, and similarly in case of mannose also, the OH is on the right hand side, so we call it as D-mannose, and they are epimers. So in alkaline medium, what will happen if we carry out the reaction in basic medium? We find that glucose has a tendency to undergo epimerization. At the same time, what we find that in alkaline medium, D-glucose can also undergo enediol rearrangement to form D-fructose. And we know that enediols are highly reactive sugars and they are powerful reducing agents. And this interconversion which we are going to use, by which D-glucose or D-mannose are converted to D-fructose, is known as Lowry-de Bruijn Enkenstein transformation. We have a special name for it, or we can also simply call it as enediol rearrangement. Here the first step is the same as we were doing in epimerization. What is that step? That the base will remove a proton from an alpha carbon forming an enolate ion. Now you can ask yourselves a question, why only from alpha carbon? Why not from beta carbon? It is from alpha carbon because the alpha carbon is the carbon which is attached to an aldehydic group or to a ketonic group. That is the carbon which is acidic in nature because of the presence of an electron withdrawing group. So when we remove a proton from alpha carbon, we get an enolate ion. And now you remember, as we've seen in the last reaction, that the enolate ion will be formed when the deprotonation will take place at C2, right? And now what will happen after we've removed this? Now we will carry out the reprotonation at the C1 oxygen to form enediol rearrangement. So as you can see on your screens, this first step is common in both. That is in epimerization as well as in enediol rearrangement. That is, this base will remove a proton from here, resulting in an enolate ion. And now this enolate ion is what? It is resonance stabilized. And now what happens in the next step, that this will react with water, and this is again an acid base reaction where this oxygen with the lone pair of electrons is acting as a base, and this water, hydrogen from water, will act as a proton. It will pick up a proton from here, resulting in the formation of enediol. Now this enediol will, so that means in the first step what is happening? Deprotonation is taking place. In the second step, we are reprotonating it. Now when we have reprotonated it and we remove the proton from C2 oxygen and reprotonate it again on C1, it will result in the formation of D-fructose, as you can now see on your screens. What we've done after we've reprotonated, as you can see on your screens, what we can see here is that in the second step now, this OH minus will remove a proton from here, right, from the C2 carbon. And after removing a proton from here, what will we find? We will get this intermediate. Now what happens again? Resonance takes place. Now when resonance takes place, we get a double bond between carbon and oxygen. And we know that this carbon cannot have 5 bonds. So these pi electrons will move to this carbon. That is, this carbon will now have a negative charge on it. So when it will have a negative charge on it, now in the next reaction, proton will react with this carbon, resulting in formation of fructose. So let us quickly revise as to what happens in the enediol rearrangement. In the enediol rearrangement, in the first step, the base removes a proton from here, resulting in the formation of enolate ion. Enolate ion picks up a proton from water, resulting in the formation of enediol. Now from this enediol, in the next step, again deprotonation will take place, that is base will remove a proton from here, which will result in this enolate ion, that is this carbon will have a negative charge on it here, and now again protonation will take place, resulting in the formation of fructose. So what we find that this enolate ion has two OH groups, so which can form a carbonyl group. So as I explained in the beginning of this reaction, if tautomerism takes place at C1, it will reform glucose and mannose, and if tautomerism takes place at C2, then fructose will form. So as we've discussed this reaction in so much detail, we come to the conclusion that whether we dissolve fructose, mannose or glucose in a base, that is we are carrying out the reaction in an alkaline medium, we will get a equilibrium mixture of glucose, fructose and mannose. I have already discussed with you the properties of glucose in great details. Now the third, and the mannose will also be similar because they are epimers, they only differ in configuration at the OH at the second carbon. So what will happen? The biological properties or the reaction towards enzymes will be different, that is glucose and mannose will be different. Otherwise they will give us all the same reactions as to what glucose is giving. But now fructose has a different functional group, that is it has a ketonic functional group. So now I would like to discuss fructose in detail. So we know that fructose is an isomer of glucose and fructose and mannose, and it has a chemical formula of C6H12O6. And you also know that fructose is sweetest of all monosaccharides. That is when we talk of glucose, we talk of mannose, we talk of galactose, it is sweetest of all. And not only this, it is even 2 times sweeter than sucrose, which is the table sugar. And fructose was discovered by French chemist Augustin Pierre de Bonfort, discovered this sugar from fruits. And we say that this fructose is the simple sugar and it is the only naturally occurring ketohexose which is found in many foods like honey, fruits, berries, melons and some other root vegetables such as beets and all. So what you can see that these are the fruits which are rich in fructose, like bananas, apples, kiwi, pears, grapes. These are some fruits which are very rich in fructose. And what you have to remember that fructose usually occurs in combination with sucrose and glucose. So what we mean here is that if we're talking of sucrose, and we know sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose, so we say fructose usually occurs in combination with these two sugars. And it is all, not only this, please remember, since it is present in sugar, in fruits, it like I've already said, pears, apples, grapes, it is also known as fruit sugar, and it is one of the one of the 3 most important blood sugars along with glucose, fructose and galactose. So now what you know is that glucose and galactose are functional isomers of fructose, and whereas glucose and galactose are epimers, that is they are C4 epimers, that is they differ in configuration at C4, and these 3 sugars, that is glucose, fructose and galactose, are most important blood sugars. And of course you know glucose is the most important blood sugar because glucose is also known as blood sugar, right? And this glucose, fructose, is also known as levulose. Why is fructose known as levulose? Because it is levorotatory, that is it will rotate the path of plane polarized light in left hand direction. Now when we talk of fructose, you will be surprised that fructose is commonly recommended to people who are diabetic, who are suffering from diabetic mellitus, that is, who are sugar patients. They are recommended that they should take fructose instead of sucrose. Why is it so? Because the glycemic index of fructose is lower than that of sucrose. But at the same time, you have to remember that if we use too much of sucrose, it may lead to obesity and it may even lead to insulin resistance, right? So we should not take excess of fructose. And we know that fructose is a hexose, that is, it is a 6-carbon sugar, that is, it is a ketohexose, that is, it has a ketonic group. But you will be surprised to know that it generally exists as a 5-membered hemiketal ring instead of 6-membered. That is, it exists as a furanose rings instead of pyranose ring. And this structure in which it exists, that is a 5-membered ring, that ring is responsible for its long metabolic pathway and high reactivity compound compared to glucose, because glucose is a 6-membered ring, whereas pyranose is fructose is a 5-membered ring. So now we'll stop the discussion here, and in my next discussion we will be starting with the preparation of fructose and with the chemical properties of fructose, where I shall be comparing the properties of fructose with glucose, because we've already discussed the properties of glucose in detail. So there we will be just summing up or comparing the properties. Thank you.